Helped everything.
Yeah. But also that damn camera really fucked me up a lot in life. I'm telling you right now, this podcast is extremely interesting. This whole topic because that camera really fucked me.
Tell us why. What do you mean? In what way?
Well, it just took me off track. Everything happened so quickly with fame and money, and I mean, it took me off track, like we were talking about a little bit ago. And I changed for the worse at times because of that, and with my relationship with my wife and my relationship with weightlifting and my coach. And I'm not saying it's all bad. Trust me. I'd say it's probably more 50-50. I mean, I met so many great people and so many exciting times I can go on, but I feel like you're right. I think these videos reached a lot of people, but that camera really fucked me.
Hi guys, welcome to the show. My name is Seb Ostrovich, aka the Voice of the People, and this is the Weightlifting House Podcast. Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the Weightlifting House Podcast with your host Seb Ostrovich, the Voice of the People, joined of course by the People's Coach Glenn Pendlay and a special guest, a very special guest, the man who actually got me into podcasts, the first podcast I ever listened to, which kind of inspired this whole thing. We have Jon North on the call. Jon, how are you doing?
Good morning. Thanks for having me on, Seb and Coach.
No problem at all.
You're welcome.
We've been trying to do this for a while. Glenn, isn't it nice to finally get it done?
It is. I can't help but say, though, Jon, you kind of, I don't really want to say piss me off, but I was getting very frustrated. Let's put it that way, frustrated.
Glenn's getting feisty already on the show.
Yeah, I like it.
Because we kept scheduling you, and you kept not showing up. And then we had Skype problems and everything like that. And it just became almost, I was like, just screw it.
Yeah, I think we had a few issues. I mean, the thing was, when we first started, a few months ago, we had a lot of Skype issues. Like, there was that time, I don't know, Jon, do you remember when you were on the line and for the life of us, we couldn't get the three of us all being able to hear each other? I mean...
Yeah, we tried hard, yeah.
A bunch of things that went wrong.
Too, not just me, but I was frustrated.
Yeah. It was a tricky time for us all.
Yeah.
Well, glad to be here and cheers and.
But Jon, I remember when you first started Weightlifting Talk. Remember when you used to go? We used to do it in the room when you walk beyond, like the paint room at Muscle Driver.
Yes. There's an old picture of that. Yeah, it's a great room.
So that. We went through a lot of frustration in that room.
Mm.
Yeah, that was Blog Talk Radio. That was back when Blog Talk.
Yeah, you weren't very good at podcasting either, and so you had no clue about almost anything. I had no clue at all. Donnie's no help with technical issues.
Yeah. We were just trying to figure it all out on all aspects. So
I remember that during those podcasts, there was this sound. It was like a high-pitched screech.
Yes.
And I used to never know what it was, and I thought it was because you guys had moved to Carolina. I thought it was like some kind of like local bird that made this weird like screech.
Oh.
And then my friend told me that it was like the manufacturer.
Yeah, the Blog Talk was horrible, and at first it was really cool because it was like live and people could call in. And we used to take live calls, and it was fun, but there was a lot of bugs that started to attack Blog Talk, and the quality got really bad, and there's pauses. I remember Akinwale was on.
I remember that one. Yeah.
Half the interview was just cut off constantly, and it was such a good interview that I found out about Spreaker, and then we switched over to Spreaker, and it's been awesome. We've never had one issue with Spreaker, so...
Yeah, well, we've had the same thing. I mean, Glenn basically said, I'll let you set up the podcast, do what you know, and all I knew of... I mean, I mentioned this to you yesterday when I was on Weightlifting Talk, was that I'd heard you say Spreaker, so it's like the go-to, like what else are you going to do? And
yes,
it does work really well.
Yeah, Spreaker's fine. It's the damn Skype issues that everyone has all the time.
Yeah. I think oh, go on, Glenn.
when Seb started this, and I said, "Go do what you want," but I have to say in the back of my head, I always thought we got to find some better way than Spreaker. There wasn't any.
Yeah,
there wasn't any.
It's actually really good.
It was all set to find some revolutionary, cutting edge thing that would be better than Spreaker, but no, there's not any.
I mean, it does the job. Like, you upload a podcast, it goes straight onto iTunes. It's simple, it's easy. I like it, you know.
Yeah, it's good.
So, I mean, I feel like while we've got the two of you on the show, it would be criminal to not talk about Cal Strength and all of those days. I know that a lot of people listening are obviously interested about that kind of thing, and I'd kind of be interested to know.
A lot of things. I'm no criminal.
What did you say, Glenn?
I said I might be a lot of things, but I'm no criminal.
No, you're no criminal, I suppose. It depends what country you're in. I'm sure you've done some things in America which over here in the UK would be considered criminal. But I'd be interested to know, you know, Jon, kind of how did Glenn's programming and just that kind of culture at Cal Strength influence what you have now with the Dark Orchestra and everything? I mean, was that kind of like, has your changed massively since then? Or do you still kind of adopt the principles that Glenn, you know, instilled in you back in the first few years at Cal Strength?
Oh, I mean, gosh, I wouldn't be here without Coach Penlay, and you know, my foundation is Coach Penlay, you know, and so yeah, I mean, my lifting, my technique, my philosophy, my programming, it's you know, got so much of an influence from Coach that it's ridiculous, you know. I mean, I be here without him. So yeah, you know, it's you know, here's what Coach did to me, and I know I don't want to speak for others, but I think I'm pretty right on with this, is that Coach Penlay was the type of coach that he was the one that basically made me find myself in the sport of weightlifting. With you know, he was the one that the program was a lot of max effort. He created a certain atmosphere at California Strength that pushed us all to new heights. There was a lot of freedom in the atmosphere and in the programming that, you know, really gut checked each athlete and kind of created their, you know, their way of doing things. And so, yeah, so it's definitely, you know, I'm, you know, pretty happy that my path was led to Penlay, and you know, it was definitely a building stage for me back then.
Yeah, you know, it's go on, Glenn.
It's kind of nice to say that, Jon. It's nice to say that, and I appreciate that a lot. But I was thinking as you talk, it's kind of funny, but I think one of the things that I kind of played a big role in my development as a coach is that I had you and Donnie, a couple others, but you and Donnie were the main ones. You know, Spencer and Kevin and whatever, but you guys wanted to lift heavy. You wanted to max out. You wanted to lift heavy, and you really didn't want to be told ever, you know, this is 80% day. You know,
yeah.
Except, you know, we all know that before a competition, you need some of those days to rest a little bit. But I think, I don't know if it's just happenstance, blind luck, whatever, but I like to coach people that like to lift. I love, and I just wrote your little, I wouldn't say a paragraph, but a page, I guess, in my book about Jon North. One of the things I said was when Jon North, Jon North loves to lift. He just loves to lift. And that's one of the special things about Jon is he's an entertainer, and he has the ability to take some of that joy he feels in being able to lift a heavy snatch and transfer that to you in the audience.
It's very true, actually. Jon, your kind of passion is very outward, and it does infect people watching it. I mean, it certainly makes watching a competition more enjoyable. I mean, I think that's one of the reasons why a lot of people early on are very quickly drawn to what you do, because you do make the sport fun. And especially if you come from, you know, I'd come from rowing, which is a very in your own head, quiet kind of sport. I mean, it hurts like hell. No, but
no
I
joy.
came to
Sure.
weightlifting
No.
and it was quiet, but there was at least... I mean, I'm a relatively quiet lifter these days, but at the start I wasn't. And I was just thankful that I found someone who was actually passionate. Like, now I love watching all these, Russian lifters, but back then I didn't care. Like, I didn't care what was on the bar as much as I cared about what the training environment looked like. And it was that Cal Strength environment with you and, I guess Donnie and Kevin and Spence that made it so exciting for me.
No, and thank you. And it was exciting for us, and we had no idea what was happening back then. It just all happened organically. And one thing that Coach Penley does well is the fact that it was the most structured program that I've ever been on, but at the same time, it was the most unstructured program I've ever been on. It's hard to explain because, I think that as a coach, you want to push your athlete to just, max height. And I think that's what Coach Penley really did, was the fact that, he created this aura, this atmosphere, and this programming that had athletes competing against each other, and there was money on the line, and who was going to lift the most weight. And every training competition was pretty much like a competition. It wasn't just a training session, And so, we truly enjoyed weightlifting, and I think that's another thing too that's unspoken about a lot, is the fact that you must enjoy it. I mean, yeah, it's hard. It sucks. I was crying in practice at times. There's, there's video of that. No crying, Jon.
Yeah, the
things
famous
like,
video, yeah.
At the end of the day, you got to be having fun with it. And I think that's what, Coach Penley did as well, is that not only was it the hardest programming out there, in my opinion, but we had fun doing it. And I think that that's an interesting blend for a coach to do, to basically, break down your athletes, to rebuild them, but at the same time have fun doing it.
Yeah. It's almost like Glenn's able to trick you into thinking that you're in control of what's happening in the program, but really you're not. He's actually secretly playing you and making sure that you're doing what he wants, as a structure, but you kind of feel like you're getting away with just maxing out and doing what you enjoy.
Yeah. Well, I think that Penley does a very good job too of reminding the athletes about lifting heavy ass fucking weight. And, at the end of the day, that's what this sport is about, is who's going to lift the most weight. And I think nowadays, especially in 2018, we can get so caught up with kind of just so much bullshit that's out there, if you don't mind me saying, that I like that day where back in the Cal Strength, man, it was T-shirts off, lift weights, barbecuing, smoking cigarettes and chugging coffee. So,
yeah, I mean, right now we're doing a tape a week on the Penley WOD, and this is the first time I've seen 1% in the snatches. Like, this is it. Like, it says yesterday, it said 80%. I hadn't seen that for like the last 8 weeks. It's been like, I mean, we've, our strength work maybe isn't always to max, but our snatch and clean and jerk is heavy right now.
Yeah, I don't use them in percentages.
No.
But I think just as Jon is saying, I think Donnie said the same thing too in a previous podcast, is that I very much try to prompt people, I guess is a good word for it, create an atmosphere where they want to do their best. And you don't do your best, it's not exciting to do 80% or 70%. No. It's not exciting. No. It's not giving you emotion. You don't get emotional about when you try 70%.
Yeah.
You're emotional about doing your best. And maxing out is a skill, which I think some people forget.
Yeah.
Doing 1 kilo more than you've ever done before is a whole different aspect than doing 90%. Similar weights, or 95%. Similar weights, it's a few kilos more, not that much. But the whole mental aspect of a PR is totally different.
And I think you can see that in a lot of the lifters that you coached. I mean, like, Jon, without kind of bigging you up too much, you've always looked like the kind of lifter who you could hit 95+% regularly and, maybe 101%, but if you were asked to do 85% for 5 triples, you might struggle. And the reason was because you'd learnt the skill of what it was to hit a heavy single rather than hit sub-maximal weights for so many reps. I mean, I could be wrong, but it always looked like that. Like, you were never in training doing 140 for triples in the snatch, but you were doing 155, 160 for singles.
Yeah, the hardest weight for me ever in training was the 5 kilos before what I wanted to hit. Because to me, it's a waste of time. Say I snatch 150, right now that's actually a great example because right now my goal is to snatch 150. Right now I'm at 146. So when I hit 140 in training, I hate it because I'm like, okay, well, where do I go next? Am I going to spend the time hitting 145? I don't care about 145.
Yeah, not got time for it.
I don't care. I don't got time for it. It doesn't excite me. It doesn't arouse me sexually.
Yeah.
So the only thing that aroused me sexually is 150.
Yeah.
So what happens is when I approach 145, I miss it.
You don't give it the due effort that it deserves because you just don't care.
I'm not respecting it. So now that therefore I'm missing 145 and I'm never getting to 150, Seb.
Yeah.
You got a big problem.
I've been watching it. I saw that 146. It looked good. Or was it the 145? It looked very good, yeah. You had like a comeback PR, what was it, a week or two ago? It looked very nice.
Yeah. Oh, no, thank you. 146 at a seminar. Yeah, I appreciate that. And Coach knows this. I mean, sometimes you got to take shankle jumps, I mean, if you smoke 40, just put 50 on. Grow a pair. Grow a pair. It's like Coach is saying mentally, it's tough to put on that weight and just go for it.
Yeah.
I mean, look, sitting at a call center all day and making calls is easy. But it's probably one of the hardest things you've ever done in your life because the fact that you do the same thing over and over and over, you're getting told no most of the day.
Yeah.
The actual job is easy. Anybody can do it, but only a few actually can because of the mental aspect of that.
Yeah.
And Jon, one thing that I've noticed before Cal Strength and then since Cal Strength even more, is that certain people are very good at, and I think Seb and I both know it as the 80% and the 20%. Most people should have like 80% of work. 80% of their training should be just going through the motion, basically. Their submaximal weights, their squats, their pulls, things that aren't exciting, but you have to do it. 20% is exciting stuff. That's the balls to the wall stuff where you're making a PR, going for a PR. Everybody likes that. Everyone likes that. Everyone likes it.
Everyone likes the 20%, but they don't like the
work.
And
some people are good at the 80%, and they fall apart.
Yes.
They max out.
So true.
But I don't know if this is it fair to say that Travis Cooper was one of those people? Or is that unfair? He was like an 80% guy. He liked putting in the work, but not so much the craziness.
I think I'd have to say Travis Cooper did like that in the mental aspect, but he was actually a pretty good competitor too.
Yeah, he was, yeah.
But he didn't really like it. I mean, he didn't really live for the max out, for the new ground.
Yeah.
But guys like Jon and Donnie, they live for the 20% days, for the 20% of the days when you can go for a PR.
Yeah, when you go crazy.
They both dislike the work, unexciting work of doing pulls, doing the squats, unless you're maxed out on squats, but just doing the necessary work that's not the exciting stuff.
Well, I tell you, it's so true, Coach. I'm going to say, one of the hardest things I've ever done in my life is programming online. Because it's very difficult. Coach, I don't know if you could agree with this, but well, it's like the famous story of John Bros. I've told this story a few times on my show, Seb. I won't bore your audience, but
no, please.
I said, Bros, why don't you do an online team? Now, this was a few years ago when
I remember you saying this, yeah.
Yeah, the online team thing was just blowing up, He goes, why would I do that, Jon? I go, because it's big. Everyone's doing it. It's fun. You should do it. John Bros looked at me and said, nobody would be on my team. And I go, what are you talking about, Coach? You're John Bros. What do you mean? He goes, because I would program snatch, front squat, clean and jerk to max every day, and no one would do it.
Yeah. And
I looked at him. I said, you're right.
Yeah.
That's actually a really good point. So part of me, that's what I want to program every day is just lift big weight.
Yeah.
Like, let's go. And I mean, I remember that we had a Bulgarian week, Coach, about a month ago on Team Do, just for a week, where all we did was max, snatch, clean and jerk, and front squat 6 days a week. That was it. And I think 30 people quit that week.
Really?
That's ridiculous.
30 people that literally quit the second they saw the Train Heroic app. They just completely quit.
Yeah. I mean, I think that with, because I'm coming out to this camp in, 4 days now.
Right.
I think what people don't realize is at the camp it is fewer exercise selections, fewer variety of reps, and we just go heavy morning and evening. But we can do that because we're all there training together, and there's this intense competitive atmosphere. With Glenn, you're just there watching us, which it does make quite a big difference having a coach there watching you and holding you all accountable. And then as soon as everyone gets spread apart and you've got this online team, there has to be more diversity in the program because you can't rely on this atmosphere because there's no guarantee that people have it. And so you've got to go a little bit more intricate into, into working out volume and making sure that everyone gets the correct training stimulus because they can't rely on max out, because some people will stop at 85% and think they've done enough, and other people will do the proper program and they'll go to 101%.
Yeah, and it's true. And then you have to be a little, effed up in the head to be a weightlifter, in my opinion. I mean, think back to the California Strength Days. I mean, Coach, we had so many people that come visit to try to be on the team, and then they would just vanish or they just break down, and they just it was just too much to handle as far as the workload. And I think that workload is something that a lot of people struggle with in weightlifting, and you got to be a little cuckoo, right, Coach?
A little bit. It helps.
Yeah.
It helps.
I think it does. I think there has to be almost I don't want to speak for everyone, but to some extent there's a hole inside you that you're kind of trying to fill. And that's why you keep doing the same thing over and over again. I was in the gym yesterday thinking about how annoyed I was about some part of my lifting. And I realized I'm doing this to myself. I'm not being forced to do this. Everyone else in the gym is happy doing CrossFit, and they don't care that their heavy clean didn't look very nice. But I am, and I'm inflicting this on me because there's something that I like about it. And that is there's a weird mental aspect for that. I've never quite worked it out, but it certainly doesn't take a completely happy, normal person to be a good weightlifter. There has to be something.
Well, it's getting
something missing.
Yeah.
Something missing.
Yeah.
Well, it's in when you're there's a lot of when if it's almost like we love the pain. It's like getting all 50 Shades of Grey in the bedroom. It's it's painful, but for some reason we love it.
Yeah. So true.
That's weightlifting.
And I think there's some lifters. There's two things I'd like to say real quick, but I think that makes sense. First off, lifters, people that are going to be weightlifters, most of them had something when they're 12, and they knew they had that thing, and it grew over time. But for most of the people that end up getting bit by the bug in weightlifting, it was evident they didn't know where to put the effort, but it was evident that they wanted something when they were very young. Mm-hmm. I told Jon this, before, and I'm sure I've talked about it to you, Seb, but I went out in my backyard and dug post holes for a squat rack. When I was 12, because I wanted to squat.
Yeah.
So I was willing to put on all that effort to dig post holes, to put wooden posts in the ground to squat off of.
Yeah.
When I was 12.
That's cool.
That's not normal. That's not normal.
No, it's not.
Because I just wanted to get stronger so bad.
There was just this innate drive.
Or whatever, but I knew I wanted to get stronger. And that was so important to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of funny.
Kind of funny. While I've got you two here, there is something that I'd love to ask. I mean, this is probably for my own benefit more than anything, but I've been fascinated with this for a while because... So essentially, Jon, your biggest problem generally in your weightlifting career has been your leg strength. I think I've routinely heard you say that, and I know that seems to be the thing that's was the hardest for you to improve. You were always a good snatcher, always a good cleaner. Jerks maybe were tricky, but I would love to know what it was. what you think it was, Jon, and then also Glenn, what you kind of worked out what it was that made your squat go up. Because I find myself in a position, I'm sure a lot of people listening do as well, where the squat is just, it's so hard to budge. And I know, Glenn, we talk about it being a process and it's years and years, but Jon, I think I heard you saying at one point, Glenn had you doing like, you tried heavy singles, you tried high rep work. Like, what was it that you found made the difference?
So really, my answer to this is Glenn Penlay. First of all, Glenn Penlay was the best coach I've ever had. And what Coach did that was better than anything was push me. That's the number one word, is push. I am not a motivated person. I am not self-motivated. When I say this, some people are taken back. I'm really not. I'm not a self-motivated person whatsoever. If I'm not being pushed, I won't train. Period. Yeah. And so Coach, what he did is he took this troubled, lost kid that obviously had talent as a young kid at Cal Strength, and pushed me and gave me, guidance, and showed me, hey, you can do this with hard work. And so that's my answer. There's no sets or workouts or anything like that. It's just he pushed me to get in the gym every day and keep trying, keep fighting, get the leg strength up, and push the squats. And even though I was broke down, constantly pushed, and you have to push in training. So over time, I was fortunate to win a few meets and make a few teams and get the leg strength up enough at least to do some damage in the sport. And so I think the number one answer to your question is just the word push, and I think that says a lot about a coach.
Do you think it was almost the fact that, like you said, that you're not self-motivated? Is it almost the fact that Glenn was so desired for you to be strong, you just felt like you had to find a way to do it for him because of the effort that he put in?
Yeah, that and the team aspect. And I think that's what's so important with the team is you don't want to let your team down, and Coach is putting so much time and, into this team and into you. Like when someone believes in you that much, and someone believes in you more than you believe in yourself, it's very powerful. And, it really takes over. And, so it was quite the time. And, Glenn got us very, obviously very, very strong. And, also the thing with the squats is that's why I suck at the jerk a little bit, is the fact that once I stand up from the clean, the rush is gone. That's why I love this so much. It's a quick rush. It's a fast, explosive rush. Once that adrenaline goes away, I'm a dead puppy. And so that's why currently right now, if you're watching some of my training, when I stand up from the clean, I do a little bit of an Andre Aram now where I stand up.
And you go.
And then I just go. I go. If I hesitate in that jerk like I used to, I'm not going to make it. And so...
Yeah, the Ilian.
Yeah, the Ilia jerk. So right now I'm trying to battle being a little lightheaded when standing up. I don't know what that is, but we're figuring that out right
now. Yeah. Before Glenn speaks, Jon, I know how much you like Aram now, and I do this episode on the show every Friday called the Sinclair Countdown, where I talk about the best performances ever. And I just covered Aram now's performance from 2008, which I know is one of your favourite performances. And I was doing a bit of research, and I found an interview where he's talking about his best lifts ever. He said that he snatched 200 kilos for a triple, he power jerked behind the neck 240 kilos for a triple, and he snatch grip power jerked 280 kilos for a single, which is one of the most absurd things I've ever heard of.
Yeah, that is truly absurd.
Good word for that.
Yeah, it makes no sense.
Nobody has snatched 200 at 105 still yet, and he did it in 08, and even Ilya didn't do it when he was at 105.
No, he only got to 191, so he's still got a way to go. It's phenomenal. So, Glenn, I'd love to hear your opinion on getting Jon's leg strength up.
I would say that number one thing or problem that Jon has is he gets bored easily. He's easily bored.
Right.
That is, I think, overriding concept with Jon. He's very easily bored. So it's not like you can just do, like he would never do 5-6-5. I probably wouldn't even program that for Jon because he won't do it. That takes too long. It's too boring. It is a boring workout. Jon has a very low threshold for boredom. Jon, do you agree with that?
No, so true. It's right on. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you'd be clever with the reps, or?
Yeah, we had to do something different all the time.
Right.
Can't just do 5 to 5 every Friday for months on end, which does work, but not for Jon, because he's not going to do it. He's not going to be excited by it. He's not going to walk into the gym and say, wow, I got to do 5 to 5 again. And it's just not going to work.
Yeah.
Not going to. And so I had to try with Jon to do a variety of things, a big variety of things, so that he could make PRs. And then I'm sure Jon remembers this. Remember when we started doing one snatch pull plus snatch from below the knee, snatch pull plus slow negative, plus snatch from the hip, just stupid stuff like that, just crazy stuff. It's not an exercise that you say, oh, this is a key exercise for weightlifting. But yet it worked, and the reason it worked is because it was different.
Something to hit a new PR in.
You go for a PR. When your snatch was in the 150s or 160s, it was super tough to PR your snatch. So we would PR your snatch deadlift plus snatch.
Yeah.
Snatch deadlift plus snatch from knee. That gave you doing all those stupid exercises gave you a ton of more stuff.
Well, it's all stupid.
I mean, go for PRs.
Coach, don't you admit it's all stupid besides snatch, clean, jerk? I mean, it really is. It really is.
Yeah, pretty much. It's all sort of made up. It's all sort of made up.
Yeah.
It is. And so once you can kind of accept that, it really has one reason.
Yeah.
Very limited amount of the reason is because this exercise is good for you. The majority of the reason is because this exercise is exciting, something new, something you can go for a PR on. And making a PR, whether it's snatch deadlift plus snatch from the knee, from the hip, making a PR is the important thing.
Yeah.
That's the important thing. And obviously, of course, if you can snatch more from the hip than you can from the floor, it has added advantage of actually getting you to go under a weight that's heavier. It gives you the courage to go under that weight when you're going from the floor. That's a big issue.
Yeah.
Just having the balls under. But to a lesser degree, it's all about making you want to do this PR, making you excited about doing this PR, and that's what really works.
Training has to be exciting, basically.
Yes, motivating it.
Yeah.
But something that motivates you.
Yeah. Something that is probably not one of the easier conversations to have, but I'd be interested to know what both your thoughts were on whether Jon, as a 94, reached his potential.
No.
No?
No. 100%. That's not a hard conversation at all. I flat out would say no.
Really?
Is that interesting? Because we had Kevin on the show, and Glenn said the same thing about Kevin, and Kevin was kind of taken aback. And
Kevin was way farther than Jon. Kevin didn't reach his potential because he gave up.
Yeah.
That's a whole different aspect.
Yeah. Well,
Jon
yeah.
had other things going on in life. And because he had gotten married, probably, I don't really think I've ever asked you this, Jon, but probably was thinking, or Jessica was thinking towards the having kids aspect of life. Women tend to do that. Once things get too far along, they're worried about the kids. But
that is true.
Making money, doing seminars,
that fucked me.
moving on with life was more important to Jon than lifting. Another 2 to 3 years of lifting would have seen 170 and 200, maybe even 205.
I mean, as a 94, you did what, 66, 95? Is that right?
Yeah.
Not in meet,
No,
but training.
yeah.
I think that was in training. 66, 90 or 66, 95.
95 MD, I remember saying, yeah.
Yes, but in a meet, the PRs were 50.
60.
60, yeah, 60 and Did you do 90 in a meet?
93.
93.
Well,
Yeah.
at the Greg Everett Catalyst meet, I did 63.93.
Yeah, that's the best in a meet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Glenn, sorry, John, how do you feel? Because it must be kind of strange, hearing Glenn say that he doesn't think you quite hit what you could have done.
Oh, to be honest with you, it's shocking because
you probably felt like you'd done it, like you trained so hard. You must have hit your potential. I feel like it's shocking to hear because I feel like there's no way. There's just no way that I'm going to be able to get back there, But that's what I'm trying to do right now. So, but that's what I'm talking about, Seb. Yeah,
that's what I'm talking about. Where Penlay believes in me more than I believe in myself.
Yeah.
And I've always been a very insecure person and all that kind of stuff. So I mean, hearing that is very motivational. And I'm like, now in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, man, I got this. I'm back February 2nd. I'm like training my ass off these last few months. And I definitely want to get out to a few Penlay camps for sure. Going to see Don next in a few weekends here. And I don't know. That's what I'm talking about. It's very motivational.
Well, John, you have to admit, you ended at Muscle Driver, and one of the last workouts I saw you do was a pretty dang easy 60-90.
Was that right before the Arnold or something?
I think so.
Yeah.
And that was pretty easy. That was the strongest he ever was, or John, you ever were.
True.
60-90.
Easy. Nothing.
In the paint room, basically.
Yeah.
And that 60-90 was stupid easy.
Yeah. At like 92K.
That would have been good openers.
Yeah.
Maybe. Maybe more. But that 60-90 was ridiculously easy. So at that time, if you would have gone ahead and given it another 6 months at least or something to make those lifts in competition that you were capable of then, because you were capable of, 70, 200 then?
Yeah.
And you were on the upswing. You were getting stronger. You were going up consistently. And so I would only say, no, you didn't quite reach your peak and what you could do.
Yeah.
And I've watched a couple of your Instagram videos of your 140 snatches, and oh my gosh, you could so much do 60 again. So much do it. Do you know how fast you're pulling on the 140-45?
Mm-mm.
I mean, you could do 60 again.
I have no coach, so I don't know. I don't get any feedback. Well, my wife, she gives me feedback, but it's just not the same. The thing is, it's tough. It's well, I appreciate it. No, thank you. I feel like I got this, and that definitely helps. So it's with a family and the business. There's obviously different aspects, but coach is right. I let life took me different places, in weightlifting, and I always went back to weightlifting, and life would take me different places, and it's
I know I had this conversation with you. I don't really want to get into a long conversation about this, but I had this conversation with you several times, and it frustrated me so much when you were lifting and starting to get sidetracked a little bit. Started doing the seminars. And I know I had this conversation with you several times back then, and I said, once you walk away, you're going to kick yourself 10 years down the road because you only have this chance to be, what were you then, 26, 25?
Mm-hmm.
You only have the chance to be this age once. If you walk away, you can never come back. Because you'll never have the capabilities again that you have now.
Mm-hmm.
When you're 30 plus, you just don't have the same capabilities. I know you think you do, you want to, but that's the crappy thing about life. You can't go back in time.
Yeah.
And so it's just one of those things.
Do you both kind of think that MDUSA was, if you'd have stayed maybe at Cal Strength, things might have worked out differently?
Oh, I think that, but I think some of that is because of I can't deny that I'm still pissed off at get Brad Hess and MDSA for having things work out the way they did there. And it's not his fault, but yet it is his fault. Not with Jon quitting lifting, but the whole team kind of self-destructing. And there's a whole bunch of things I go into on that that has to do more with Brad and his insanity than with Jon. Probably not the podcast for it, but...
What about you, Jon?
It's one of those things where, so many good things happen, throughout from my first entering weightlifting to right now. Even after Muscle Driver, yeah, do I have some regrets? Yeah, I made some mistakes? Yeah, and Coach is right about that for sure. But on the flip side, a lot of great things have happened as well. So it's very difficult to have this conversation and look back because it's just one of those toughies, where there's great things and bad things, and the journey of life and decisions and the path you've taken, and so it's led to great things and bad things. So it's tough. Muscle Driver was a great time. Cal Strength was a great time. It was a beautiful time. It was Muscle Driver was the first ever pro team in the United States. Cal Strength was the boom of all weightlifting in 2010, 2011, which the newbies in the sport seem to forget about now. Yeah. There was a lot of historical times back then that, Glenn was the front leader to. I mean, of course, we could talk about Spitz. That's a whole different podcast. But Glenn was the front leader for all of these life-changing things in weightlifting. I mean, the Cal Strength boom, the Muscle Driver boom, and, he's continuing on, and so are you, Seb. And so, yeah, things happen, but all we could do, I think, at this point is just move forward, and I think we all are. I'm at retirement now. Coach, you're right. I'm back. I think I can make a real run at this. I really do. I mean, my goal is 224. And I'm not just saying that. I don't want to be the guy on IG being like, Olympics, 224. Let's go, man. Like, I don't know. I think Coach is pushing me right now, and I think I could. I'll be 38 years old. It's not that old. If I could stay healthy, I think I actually have a shot at it. Penlay's back doing the equipment, and the podcast is getting the ball rolling again with that, which is just super exciting to see the comeback of Penlay. The equipment industry, and I know, Seb, you're doing your own thing as an entrepreneur, super pumped about it, and it's just right now, between all three of us, it's really exciting, and I think the best thing we could do is just move forward and just kick ass.
Yeah. Well, there's a space coming in the 94 kilo class, to be honest, and I mean, we all don't know quite yet what the weight classes are going to be, but I imagine there'll be something in the low 90s and something in the high 90s, and I think... From what I've seen of you, you're probably going to want to stick in the low 90s. And I think some of the guys who maybe were pretty good in the 94 class are going to end up going up. And, I don't know what teams you can make, but I think that lower 90 kilo class is probably going to be kind of wide open for you.
Yeah, and Coach knows. I mean, I always trained at 92, 93, and I'd get in trouble. So I'm a light 94. I've always have been. Toward the end of my career, I got a little heavy, but, I'll definitely be a 90 lifter. So I agree with you, Seb. So, just got to keep consistency is king for my training, especially with having two kids and then everything going on with my daughter. I mean, it's no excuse, but it's one of those things where if I can get myself in the gym 5 to 6 days a week, then I really think I have a shot.
Yeah.
But if I'm going to let life not get me in the gym, then I don't know. I don't know what would happen there.
Yeah.
How's your daughter doing?
Oh, good. Thank you for asking. Yeah, she's doing good. She's doing very good.
I saw a post today. It was like 6 months or something like that. Is that right?
Yeah. Gosh.
8 months or not. I can't remember what it was. I saw a post today. It was some anniversary of some sort. So yeah, congratulations. 7 months. Yeah.
Thank you.
That's cool. Yeah. It's interesting hearing you say that. You never know what the right choices were, but I think one of the things that maybe people don't appreciate enough is that, if you'd have carried on, it would have been great, but the real effect that you had in weightlifting, and certainly the fact that you and Glenn had in weightlifting, was what you've done to the greater weightlifting community. And it's almost like those Cal Strength videos, whoever decided we're going to start filming these and put them on YouTube, however that whole process began, that really in many ways is the impact that was had. You know, whether you'd have gone to a competition and snatched 65 and clean jerk 200, as great as that would have been for the two of you, for us looking on, I would, in a very selfish way, rather have had all those Cal Strength times, all of those moments caught on YouTube. Those are the things that have made a difference more so than what you hit. Which is, it's an interesting way to look at it, and certainly not the way that I'm sure Glenn wants to look at it, because he's all about the numbers. But for me, growing up in the sport, that got me through it. Like, when I started weightlifting, I didn't have any weightlifting friends. You know, my mum still thinks I do the bench press. Like, you know what I mean? Like, but with those videos and the early podcasts, that was my way in. That was my way to feel like I had a group who knew and understood what I was doing. And that has had a much bigger impact on the weightlifting community, in my opinion, than the 166, 195 that you did in training.
It's kind of funny that you say that, Seb. Besides just thinking I'm going to have a talk with your mom next time in England, just coming up here.
Yeah.
I don't think even Jon quite understands what went into starting those YouTube videos and podcasts.
I mean, who started the YouTube?
Glenn.
I did. I started all of it.
Right.
So
I'll never forget when he was sitting there walking to practice, and he had this. And of course, he didn't tell anybody.
No.
He just had this like camera with this blinking red light, and this piece of crap camera he brought at like Costco or something.
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing?
And it's like, what does that mean? Because back then, like now, if someone brings a camera in, you just go, okay, he's filming. This is going on YouTube. That wasn't even a thing. That's not a thing. It's like, what the hell have you got a camera for?
We all looked at Coach. We said, Coach, that's the stupidest idea. Nobody is going to watch these videos.
Yeah.
What are you doing? You know, it's stupid.
And Glenn, was it for people to watch, or was it for analysis?
And the reason I knew that was because if you look on the videos from Iron Mind that people buy, they don't buy many of the meets.
It's training.
Like, he actually sells a video of like the 2003 World Championships. Very few people buy them.
It's true.
But he also sells a video made from a compilation of all the training lifts that he videoed leading up to the 2003 World Championships at the training hall.
That's what we buy. Yeah.
And that was what we buy. And so I knew that if I filmed training, people would buy it. I really felt strongly. So as Jon said, I went out at first with a cheap-ass camera, like I always try to do everything cheap at first. And then I went and bought, I went and spent my last dollar, which, as Jon knows, if I had any extra money at Cal Strength, I spent it by rewarding the lifters. I think Jon probably remembers when I first came to Cal Strength, the first thing I did was, you ever want $100? Tell them to go get a massage, because we were going to train our asses off this next week. Remember that day?
Yeah.
Out there? I think Donnie tried to go get a massage, a happy ending.
Yeah, he tried.
Got a regular massage. But that was always my first instinct was to do something that could let the lifters lift more. That was all that mattered. And I did that. I went out and bought a fairly expensive Nikon camera. It was a camera that I filmed the second video on. And I still have that camera now. It's in my closet right now. And I filmed a couple things at McPherson CrossFit with it, a couple videos with it, and I've used it at camp. So I still have the same camera that was used to film all of the YouTube videos at Cal Strength. So I have that camera.
I mean, can you think, like, what an investment that has been?
Yeah.
I mean, all the people who started lifting because of it, the fame that you guys gained, and then the opportunities that were granted from it, like seminars and all of that kind of stuff. I mean, that is maybe the greatest investment that any weightlifter has ever made.
But also, that damn camera really fucked me up a lot in life. You know, I'm telling you right now, this podcast is extremely interesting. This whole topic, because that camera really fucked me.
Tell me, tell us why. What do you mean? In what way?
Well, it just took me off track. You know, everything happened so quickly with fame and money, and I mean, it took me off track, like we were talking about a little bit ago. And you know, I changed for the worse at times because of that, and with my relationship with my wife and my relationship with weightlifting and my coach. And I'm not saying it's all bad. Trust me, I'd say it's probably more 50-50. I mean, I met so many great people and so many exciting times I can go on, but I feel like you're right. I think these videos reached a lot of people, but you know, that camera really fucked me, you know. And
did you kind of start living for the camera, almost living for the persona?
I think that being accepted by so many people was something that I just loved so much that it just, you know, I wanted more. I wanted more. I wanted more. I wanted more. When I started making money, I wanted more. I wanted more. I wanted more. I wanted more. And there's not a weightlifter out there that, you know, I made a lot of money, and it really, really turned me into a person that I don't like back then at times. And so, yeah, so it's interesting that camera is kind of bittersweet to me for sure. You're right though; it did touch a lot of people.
Yeah,
and you know, Coach is, you know, he could say that he's, you know, he was the one that went out and got it. But I would love to do the show with you guys again, Seb. I actually have to go.
I know. I mean, you've given us longer than you were going to originally.
If you guys want me back on Thursday morning just to chat more about weightlifting, I'd love to join you guys again.
Yeah, I mean, I'd very happily have you on again. It'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah, cool. Well, I mean, Jon, thanks so much for coming on. Glenn, I figure that we'll probably just carry on rolling with the podcast and just talk a little bit about frequency.
Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah, that's about right.
Jon, it's nice to have you on. Nice to have you on. And I think Seb and I now, if you're going to go, Seb and I will talk now about frequency. And because I think that for a lot of people, it follows very well, because a lot of people really didn't. Cal strength was the first time where lifters actually kind of thought about the subject of training twice a day. You know, that's kind of new thing.
Yeah.
Very few people could do that. Almost no one did it.
Yeah.
But we did it. And so I think that kind of opened people's eyes to the fact that you don't just have to have one workout a day. You can do two.
It's so funny that 2 sessions a day was a new concept back then, when it's so well known now.
Right.
It's very bizarre. Anyway, Jon, we'll let you get going. Thanks once again for stopping in. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show.
Thanks, Jon.
Thanks, Seb. Thanks, Coach. We'll see you guys later.
See ya.
Bye.
All right, so Glenn, I mean, how do you want to go about this? How do you want to kind of structure this? I mean, I'm very excited to be starting the double days again next week, because obviously I'm going to be with you in the camp. I arrive on the Sunday. I'll be there in time for Sunday evening training, which I'm very, very excited for. And then, as far as I can imagine, we're going to go straight into 2-a-days. But you did mention, I don't know if you meant to, but you said something like, we'll train at least 2 times a day. I don't know.
I plan on more than 2 times a day on this camp.
Oh, wow. That's fun. I'm excited.
We just have to kind of see how people respond the first day.
Yeah.
My plan is to start with 3 and go up from there if possible.
Yeah. I mean, be aware that myself, Jordan, Bo, and I think Josh, no, not Josh, but us 3 at least, Dustin as well, I think are not arriving until the Saturday and Sunday. So don't get all the 3-a-days done, because I know that at least we'd all like to.
We'll kind of see by then how the people that are here are doing it, or how they're coming with it. And then we have a whole other group of people about arriving on Sunday sometime during the day, that first week.
Yeah.
Arriving a little late, that's good. That's fine. That'll work fine. I'm really excited to see how guys like Bob Durant, who is strong as shit, you know,
very strong. Yeah.
There's a couple other guys. There's a guy with the last name of Parks who's coming, and he was a bodybuilder, pro bodybuilder.
Yeah.
So he's probably a big, strong guy also, I think.
Yeah.
But I'll be we're excited to see how those guys do with the high frequency training program. But you know, I've said this a lot of times on our podcast before, but one of my things that I'm going to try to look into on my dissertation is frequency, because there's really never been, I don't believe, an upper limit found with frequency. Everyone knows an upper limit on intensity. I mean, you can't go over 100% usually. And duration and volume.
Yeah, we know that.
Incredible volumes to the point where you just don't see there's not enough time in the day to do more volume as far as like tonnage, you know? That you're limited by how much hours in a day.
Yeah.
But I think at Muscle Driver, we did do frequency. It's almost like an experiment for a while. We had lifters going to maximum, or very nearly maximum, about 8 times a day.
Yeah.
And it worked.
Yeah.
And I really want to kind of explore that a little bit.
God, it would have been interesting to have spoken to Jon about that, because I'm assuming he was one of the guys who tried that.
No,
he wasn't. He just left?
He had left before that.
Oh, that was like the Chris Goot era?
Right.
Oh, okay.
And so, but we're not going to be able to get up to 8 workouts a day. That's just not going to happen. But I'm going to try.
We could do a lot. We could do like 4.
We could.
Yeah.
I'm thinking 3.
Yeah.
And then 4 if it works. Which is kind of, I think, that would be the highest we could go with the group that's coming.
Yeah.
No one can go from 1 workout a day to 8 per day without any
drop off,
without any problems.
Yeah.
I mean, it can't happen immediately. To make that happen, it'd be a long, slow process.
Yeah.
I think we definitely get up to 3 or 4, and who knows, maybe someone will be able to do more than that, like Gibson, Joshua Gibson. He is almost a prototype of the person who is going to make progress on more workouts per day.
Yeah.
His technique's very good. He's get stronger. And that's what this is going to do, I think. That's what this is going to do.
Yeah.
I think the frequency is going to be very good for people like Josh Gibson. Because I think that's going to work for him. But it's going to be different. It's not something I've never had any experience with, because I've done this stuff at Cal Strength with a lot of workouts per day. But who knows?
Yeah. I think what's cool is that on the first camp, there were only 3 people who could snatch 120. Essentially, if you snatched 120, you would pretty much, 120 to 130, you'd win the session.
Yeah.
This time, my goal is I want to snatch the 120 finally. And what's cool is that if I do that, I think I'm going to come last. Or second to last with Josh Gibson. And that's what's kind of amazing, is that we're at a point now where, as annoying as it is for me, I mean, it's beneficial for me, is the fact that if you're not going to snatch 130 or more, you're not going to be in the game at one of these camps anymore. Which doesn't mean don't come. It's still a great time for everyone, but the standard is picking up massively on the team. And there are going to be, at least 3 people walking away with 140 snatches at the end of this camp.
I think so. That's accurate.
It's just a cool trend to follow, and I'm sure in a year or 2, it's going to be, 130 is the new 120, and 150 is going to be the standard if you want to lay down a win.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's incredible. That's awesome. I mean, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Because definitely, in general, in USA weightlifting, the standard's going up. Makes sense that the camp standard's going up, but that's I think that's a great thing, and the biggest thing is that people don't look at 140, let's just say, the way they used to.
No.
And that's what has happened. Mentally, people are thinking, I'm strong, I'm a good athlete, I'm strong, I should be able to snatch 140. Shouldn't take me 6 years to snatch 140.
No.
That, I think, is the mindset of most people in the sport right now. If you're like not a 56, if you're like a 94, 85, whatever, you're thinking, you know what? Why would I not snatch 140? That's not a huge weight.
No.
And just like I was talking to, is it Ray Everest?
Yeah.
And he's the one that had the video of him at the Commonwealth Games, I think, or Oceanic Championships. Doing a 160, 150 clean and jerk. Yeah, 150.
Something like that, yeah.
And I basically responded. I said, you got to move up, you know?
Yeah.
You shouldn't be worried about anything below 182.
Yeah.
Because he's been stuck in the 160s, I think, on the clean and jerk for quite a while now.
Well, he just PR'd his front squat triple today.
Right.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that yet.
He hit 170 for 3, which is a 4 kilo PR.
Right.
Yeah.
That's huge. That's big for him.
Mm.
You know, but he's one of the guys that's starting to think, you know, these really aren't that big of weights.
Mm.
You know, and so 182, I said, don't even think about anything but low 182. That should be your goal. You got to get 22 fast.
Yeah.
And then the neat thing about 182 is that it's a small space between that and 200 kilos, which is a good lift.
Mm. Well, I mean, that's what you... I mean, I'm literally looking at the comment right now. I'm going to read it out. You basically said to him, stop thinking about weights below 400 pounds. You should be in a race to see how fast you can get to 182, simply because that is a nice stepping stone to 200, which is a nice weight. I mean, essentially, it's just, don't worry about these weights. Get to 182, but only do that because then you can get to 200 kilos. And only then is that a nice weight. There is no emphasis that you need to put on 155 or 165 or I need to get to 170. It's like, no, you need to get here quick because we don't have much time and you need to be a good weightlifter. Stop putting, you know, a 170 clean and jerk on a pedestal. Get to 200 quick. And it's that change in mindset that can be so incredibly shifting in how people train and how people, you know, progress in weightlifting.
And yeah, it's funny, but I'd read Tommy Kono's book and listened to him at several places. Basically say, people are saying, you know, you guys did back in the 50s so much less as far as weight than the current day Europeans are doing.
Yeah.
He's been kind of almost outspoken, or was almost outspoken in the fact that he was saying if someone would have been doing 200 kilo snatch back then, we would have matched it.
Yeah.
We would have done it. I always said, well, you can't just make yourself do 200 just because somebody else did. It doesn't work that way.
But you almost can.
But you know what? Maybe it does. It does, a little bit.
Yeah.
A little bit. Because for most people, the first step is believing it's possible.
Mm.
And so if guys like Tommy Kono would have believed the standard was a 200K snatch,
yeah,
maybe they would have done it.
Yeah.
They were close to it.
You know, I think sometimes people don't want to.
I've underestimated how. Yeah, I've underestimated how important the mental aspect is before. You know.
Yeah.
And it's incredibly important.
Yeah.
Incredibly important.
Yeah, people don't admit that they could have been that much better, but actually, I think, you know, when I train, I think to myself, I'm doing as much as I can right now.
Right.
And if the standard was a 1, or I feel, you know, but if the standard was a 130 snatch, it would be, I'd probably only ever get there. But now, because the standard is so much higher, I'm going to blow past it, and it's almost not going to be like there was much of a difference in effort. Like, you don't have to work much harder or you don't have to work much less to actually make no progress. Like, it's amazing how small the difference in work is between staying where you are and getting a little bit better. So it kind of feels like
it's the difference of like 1/10 of 1%.
Yeah.
Applied over a year or 2 or 3.
Yeah, so you can work very hard and not make progress.
Yeah, tiny little percentage of working harder.
Yeah.
Tiny little percentage applied over 2 or 3 years. It allows you to gain steadily over those 2 or 3 years and end up snatching 140 or 160 or 200.
Yeah.
You know, when you could have stayed the same at 125 or 130.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, it's a tiny little bit. And I think it all starts with just believing it's possible.
Yeah.
And I used to, my phone's ringing here, so I just silenced it. I just put it silent. 1 second.
That's right.
Yeah, somebody's calling me, so I just had to hang up on them.
Oh, that's all right.
Anyway, yeah, it's not that much effort. It's not that much extra. It's a lot of effort, but not that much extra effort
Yeah.
to actually make progress.
No.
And it's hard to buy in and put that effort in if you don't believe it's possible. That little bit of extra effort is necessary to actually believe wholeheartedly that it's possible.
Yeah.
Without that belief, you just can't put that effort in. You can't put that extra effort in that you need.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I think that's one of the biggest things.
Mean, it's an overused parallel, but people always talk about the 4-minute mile and how no one could beat it, and then when one person did it, suddenly everyone did it, and now there's like multiple high school kids doing it every year. And it's not that we've evolved that much. Like, we're not a much better version of the human.
It's funny you mention that, because I believe that I've read, I think, where there were people in the medical profession that had come out and said, as a matter of fact,
oh really, that it wasn't possible,
that a 4-minute mile was impossible for a human being.
And then what does that do to you? I mean, you get to 4:05 and you're doing loads of work and you're barely making any progress, and you just think, well, I can't get under 4 now. And so maybe you don't do the extra 0.1%, which is all you need to do to take off another 20th of a second every single month until you finally break that 4-minute barrier. Like, it's so little, and when you have people saying that it's not possible and you can visually see that it's not been possible so far, that's enough to just prevent the extra adaptation to progress.
And I don't remember the guy's name that broke the 4-minute mile. I should, but I don't. I do know.
Oh God.
Bannister, his name Bannister.
Yeah, Roger Bannister.
That name popped in my head. I'm not sure if it's right or not, but whatever it is, when the first guy did it, like 6 or 7 people did it like a month later.
Yeah, Roger Bannister.
Yeah. Once he broke that mark, got under 4 minutes, pretty soon a lot of people were doing it. And now 4 minutes is not that. It's not going to win. It's not going to win.
Do you remember that happening in weightlifting? Because since I've been in the sport, I mean, there's only like one person alive now lifting who's actually doing things that haven't been done. So I've not experienced that, where someone finally does something and then other people start doing it. Do you remember that? Was it like a 220 clean and jerk or a 180 snatch, or like, do you remember that kind of happening?
The 500-pound clean and jerk. I don't remember it happening, but because it happened in like 1970, so that was like on the time I was born. So I don't remember that, but I definitely do think that. I think a little more similar thing is the women's weightlifting progress.
Yes, yeah, you're probably right there.
I'm old enough to remember times when people were saying no female will ever snatch 300, impossible for a girl, and no female will ever clean jerk 400, possible for a female. I remember that very well, very well. And so that kind of is more my time frame than a big barriers from the men's side. That happened a little bit before my time.
Yeah. And there still aren't many women who can do it, but there's certainly going to be more.
No, but the barrier's been broken.
Yeah.
And more and more are going to come.
I mean, the next is a 200-kilo clean and jerk.
Yeah, pretty soon it'll be the standard.
Yeah.
And so,
that's amazing.
And obviously I've talked to you about this privately, but I believe very strongly that women's records will keep getting closer and closer to the men's until they're much, much closer than they are now.
Yeah. I mean, I agree that they'll get a lot closer.
Yeah, they're going to get a lot closer. Women actually are built better than men are for lifting in several respects. And even they can handle more volume, more workload, more flexible, et cetera. A whole bunch of different things. I just think that's gonna be the story of the next 20, 30 years, is that women are going to get closer and closer to the men. Because I think there's still a social aspect. A huge social aspect.
Yeah.
Of no women not wanting to be really, really big and strong because it's not socially acceptable.
Mm-hmm.
And so as we conquer that thing, the increase in the women's records are going to get more and more.
Yeah, and I mean, we're definitely, as a society, we're definitely on the way to that. You know, it's becoming more and more acceptable for women to be strong and not have to fit into this stereotype that has, I guess, been with us for a long time now.
Yeah, I don't really know what the limit is. And I have said several things on the podcast, I think, already, and said several things on the Pinley site or group. But it's unproven ground. It's unknown. So I don't know what's going to happen. But I feel in my heart that it's going to be more than we think, you know?
Yeah.
Things are going to happen that we're just not ready for, that we're not prepared for. Because still today, it'd be a very, very big thing. When is the first female going to break the men's record? You know, we don't know when that's going to happen.
And you think that can happen?
I don't know. I'm going to have to let my dog out here.
Yeah,
So
that's all right.
It's barking. Lucky, get outside. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I just don't know. I wish I knew.
Yeah.
I don't.
I mean, I feel like my instinct is to say that I don't think any women's records will ever outlift the men's records. I don't believe that a 6-year-old woman will lift as much as a 60-kilo woman will lift as much as a 60-kilo man. But I've been proven wrong on things before, and I'd happily be proven wrong again. It's just so hard to imagine when there's such a long way to go. But
Right.
you know, if you look at the lines and the graphs, I mean, they're closing in. It's going to take a while, but they are closing.
It may never happen. It may never happen, or it may never happen. Or if it does happen, it may be when we're all dead. You know,
Yeah.
when we're 80 years old. I don't know. I don't know, but what I do think is that women are breaking ground right now. Every quad, every quad, the records go up.
Mm-hmm.
And so, who knows?
Yeah.
It's an exciting in weightlifting, especially women's weightlifting, just to see the limits being pushed.
Mm-hmm.
Because for men, it was easy because men are supposed to be strong.
Yeah.
You know, it's like I was listening to a book on tape called Gates of Fire last night, actually. And one of the characters talking about how women's courage is so much more special than men's because men are supposed to be strong, have courage to contend.
So it's almost easy to have it because it's expected.
Yeah, so it's socially acceptable. It's what we're supposed to have. We're built for it.
Yeah.
We're built for, combat and courage in arms, Women are not built for that. Women are set up mentally and physically for nurturing, for having children and nurturing those children and raising them and things like that. So when a woman displays great courage, either in personal courage or just in being able to stand by while her child that she had then raised goes off to war to be killed, when they display courage in either one of those ways, it's much, much more impressive than men's courage because they're not built for that mentally or physically. So they're actually going against what nature deems possible for them. And so in some ways, in that same way, women's weightlifting is breaking social barriers at the same time as breaking physical barriers. So it's so much more impressive because when a woman snatches 300 pounds, she had to break the social barrier that says women should be weak and passive. How much harder is that than just breaking a physical barrier?
Yeah, I mean, completely.
For a man, men are supposed to be strong. And we're trying in a way to be strong.
Yeah.
Powerful. And that's socially accepted. That's what we're supposed to do.
Whatever emotions we let out, be it Jon North yelling or Johnny Schenkel staying quiet, is kind of accepted because that's just what you do.
Yeah.
But a woman doesn't have that. You know, she's got to break down those barriers as well. Like, what is it that I do to reach this level? Because it hasn't been done before.
Right.
Very interesting. Never thought about it.
And so
like
the
that.
whole process for a woman is so much more so much harder. It's just so much harder. It's just like nice to be able to watch, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like
Very
for a
admirable.
female, like for Nicole, Brandon's wife.
Yeah.
I don't doubt that Nicole has had to answer a lot of questions from her family,
I'm sure.
friends, non-weightlifting friends at least, about why she wants to be strong, why having big legs is okay with her, you know, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
A lot of questions.
It's still around. I mean, yeah, my girlfriend's dad, you know, I've been going out with her for 4 years now, and her dad doesn't, you know, if she ever goes to the gym to squat, because, like, she'll sometimes want to go and I'll help her out with that, like, we can't tell her dad because her dad will say, why are you going to the gym? The gym isn't a good place for women. Women shouldn't be lifting heavy weights. And I'll ask why, and he'll say it's not good for them. And I just...
Right.
But there's nothing I can say because it's a cultural thing. There's an age gap there.
Yes,
and
it
that
is.
is a barrier that women do have to try and break down.
I still remember, if my mom ever listened to this podcast, she's going to kill me for this, but I still remember, and she won't listen to it because she's not a weightlifter.
No.
But I still remember when my mom talked about not ever doing sports as a child because that was something girls didn't do. And when I used to run, when I was like 13, 14 years old, when I was in wrestling, and running was a big thing to get in shape for wrestling. Here, once in a while, Mom would go walk over to the airport with me because I ran on the airport runway, and I'd go run, and she'd walk.
Yeah.
And I'd run up the end of the runway. And on the way back, I'd meet her.
Yeah.
And then she'd turn around and start walking back.
Yeah.
All the time I said, why don't you jog a little bit?
Yeah.
She said, no, I can't do that. When I try to jog a little bit, something's wrong. I just don't have the ability to do that because something goes wrong. I said, what goes wrong? Is your knee hurt or your ankle hurt or what goes wrong? No. I just get this terrible burning in my lung, or my chest. Get real out of breath.
Yeah.
And it's that can't be right. You know, I just get so out of breath. I'm like panting. That cannot be right. Cannot be good for me. And no amount of explaining would convince her that being out of breath and panting were natural functions of running.
Yeah.
That's natural. You should be out of breath. Like she's like, my heart starts racing. Get all out of breath. I just can't do it. I just can't do that. And I'm like, Mom, your heart does start to race. Yeah. That's natural because your heart's trying to pump the blood. And she just didn't believe me.
Yeah.
And she had been told she'd never done anything physical in her life. Women didn't do running or sports in gym class like guys did. They'd play tetherball.
Yeah.
Or, you know, and so nothing could convince her that being out of breath and panting and having your heart race is natural. It's good. And people have told her that if you did things like that, it might interfere with your ability to have children.
Wow. Yeah.
Doctors had told her that. You shouldn't ever get out of breath because that might interfere with your childbearing ability.
Yeah.
So we're not that far away from medical doctors telling women they shouldn't get themselves out of breath or make their heart race because that might prevent them from having children in the future. We're like one generation away from that.
It's amazing how far removed we sometimes feel with how progressive everything's become, but we're really not.
The social aspect of women getting a gym and doing EMOMs on a snatch is not that far.
No.
Not that far. That far removed.
That's crazy. I mean, to me, that's a normal thing. A woman does an EMOM in the snatch, but 20 years ago, that was a barrier to be broken down.
Right.
You know, that's one of the great things about CrossFit. That is something that CrossFit has massively helped with, is breaking that all down.
And that is one of the reasons that I still think women's weightlifting has a long way to go. There's an incredible upside.
Mm.
There are people that think they snatch 300 pounds, clean jerk 400 pounds. That's over. I mean, that's as far as they're going to go, or they're not going to go far from here.
Yeah.
And I think we're not far removed from women like my mother being told as children that getting out of breath and having a heart race when they jogged would interfere with having children.
Mm.
That we're not that far removed from that. And so we have a long way to go.
Yeah.
You know, because it's still not socially acceptable for a woman to be big and strong, to have muscular arms. There's a long way to go before we get there. Long way to go.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. I mean, it's interesting that, like, at the moment, there's a big thing about women having, you know, muscular glutes and muscular legs, and like that's now become completely socially acceptable.
Yes, it has.
But it's not with arms yet. Like, it's interesting hearing you say that, because in my head I'm thinking we have reached that level, but we haven't, actually, because there's still, you know, just the fact that I think her name is Samantha Briggs from CrossFit Games. She's got big arms, and that was like, that made a lot of news, just the fact that this CrossFit woman had big arms. And so we're still at a point where we're not looking past that completely. That is still a barrier to entry.
It's still a thing.
Yeah, it's still a thing. The fact that, I mean, the fact that it's being spoken about, I know I feel like I'm now being hypocritical because I'm playing a part in it, but these things that are still being spoken about make it a thing. It's like, I mean, I don't want to go down this road too much, but it's kind of like with race and how people are always talking about it, and that makes it a thing. It's the fact that it's being addressed makes these things more of an issue than they really are.
Right.
Oh, you know,
100% right.
It's been very interesting, actually, what we've just spoken about. I've enjoyed that. Glenn, one thing that we do need to talk about before we end it, because we've been on this for a long time now. This podcast has been almost an hour and a half. Is Brandon. So Brandon is one of our big lifters, and he injured his knee terribly. Yeah. And so, you know, he's got a whole load of bills to pay in I don't know what it is, medical fees. So what did he do? He's torn his ACL, MCL, a bunch of stuff, right?
Yeah, he didn't have any insurance of his own.
No.
He is able to get his wife's insurance to cover some of it, but he's going to have a lot of bills.
Yeah.
At least $1,600 for the surgery, but probably another couple thousand after that.
Jesus.
Probably more than a couple thousand. Probably like, I don't know. I don't even want to give a number because it'll be wrong.
Yeah.
But we're going to do a T-shirt as a fundraiser for him. And I'm kind of, I've heard several ideas. I had several ideas. I haven't had one, but I've heard several ideas for the shirt that would be decent ideas.
Yeah. I mean, he messaged me today and said that he's speaking to a designer about making a few ideas, and when they've done that, they'll let us know. But I mean, essentially, guys, the idea is that we want to. I mean, Brandon's on our team. He's one of the most loyal members of Pendlay Wad. He's been on it for years, before it was called Pendlay Wad, actually, back when it was called X-Files. Yeah. And so we just want to help him out, because, as you can all imagine, there's nothing worse than having a completely ruined knee and not having the money to correct it, and essentially having a hard time getting back into your career. And he's a good lifter. I mean, he snatches 140, clean jerks 170, so it would be a real waste of talent. So we're going to put together this T-shirt, and if you want to help out in any way, purchase a T-shirt, and we'll send all the proceeds to him, basically, to fund the operation.
Right.
Which is it's a good thing that we're doing. Yeah.
The decent thing to do.
It is. It is. Well, Glenn, I think we should probably leave it there. It's been an hour and a half. I don't know if I'm going to speak to you again before the camp.
Well, I'll probably speak to you. You'll probably be you'll probably be in England.
Yeah.
Looking at, well, first off, when's the video guy getting here?
He's arriving on Friday.
Okay. Super.
So I think he's gonna, do some filming, and all of that kind of thing, and start making videos. But I mean, I said to him that essentially half of the people are arriving on the Saturday and Sunday, so the first day isn't going to be too busy, but it will kick off from then. So he'll get on that. And I'm sure, we'll message on Facebook and email back and forth, but this may well be the last podcast we do, so I'm very much looking forward to finally arriving at the camp and throwing down some training and finally hitting some of these benchmark numbers that I've been after for a while, so that I can finally move on and try and hit something reasonable in my career.
Yeah, you got to get 140.
Well, I've said this a long time, or for many times, but
obviously.
Yeah, a 140 snatch is that number that I really do believe that basically, if we're not talking about 56s and 62s and 69s, we're talking about more regular sized men, a 140 snatch is something that anyone can do. I don't think you have to have any talent to snatch 140, really. You just got to be able to put in the time and effort. So 140 has to happen at some point, Glenn, and I'm going to make sure that it happens at a camp one day. But, we'll see. We shall see.
Awesome.
All right.
I will speak soon, Seb.
Yeah, I'll speak to you in a bit. Guys, thanks once again for tuning in, and we will speak to you all probably during the next week, because we'll do a few recordings at the camp.